Why is this? Something's going on. Technical difficulties is correct. All right, I guess not. We're having a little technical difficulties tonight. Never mind the commercials. Welcome everybody to the PWZ podcast. This is Rick Del Santo. Joining me as always. Well, not as always. It's been 7 months. It's been way too long since this guy's been here. So we're trying to rectify that tonight. Here is the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy. What is going on, man?
Well, I'm down here in the bunker, Professor. Thanks for having me on. It's been quite some time, 7 months. So it's good to be live here on YouTube and on the PWZ. I was originally up in Chaos Lounge. Little knee problems. I got a double ice pack on, so we had to rush down here. We're on a different camera. We have technical difficulties no matter what kind of streaming on, whether I'm on StreamYard, YouTube. It doesn't matter what show that we do. It's great to be back, Rick. So fans, thanks for being here with the professor. And if we have technical difficulties, I'm going to take the weight. And you know
I'm
what they
still,
say about that, Rick? The camera puts 10 pounds on you, Professor. It looks like it put 20 on me.
we're still learning, my friend. I mean, so every time I hit a button, something else goes off, it seems. So, welcome everybody. If anybody's in the chat that you want to say hello, please say hello. If anybody's got any questions, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. First off, there's a lot of great local stuff coming up. I've been pushing it. I usually been opening up with this stuff as of late because I really want to push this stuff. And try to get some people going to this because it's a lot of fun. Michael Kanata, Mr. Trivia, how the hell are you, sir? Thank you for tuning in on YouTube. I appreciate you tuning in. Let's see. There's a debut event by Coliseum Pro Wrestling, May 6th. That is, I believe that's 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now, yep. And it's going to be at the Elks Lodge in West Haven, Connecticut. That's 265 Main Street, West Haven, Connecticut. You might be familiar with that area. I think CCW used to run in that
Yes,
area back in the day.
it's a nice venue. It's a nice
Yeah,
venue, Professor.
yeah, I remember that quite well. So the first round of the tournament, Dan Demand taking on Kylon King, Dustin Flash Waller, and Brother Greatness. No Love, Lorenzo Vendetta taking on Mantequilla, Lucas Chase, Sebastian Cage. I think it's just $20. $7 or
Wow.
excuse me, 7 p.m. bell time. It's going to be a great show, a tournament to crown the first CPW heavyweight champion.
Well, let's hold on there a second before we get on to what we really want to talk about that you're a big part of and I'm a big part of and I watch you and Showtime Marcel Williams weekly and that would be Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling before we get on to everything IWC here on the
I've got a
PWZ
lot of stuff.
podcast.
Yep, I got some PAPW notes to catch up with today. We're going to get there.
Well, those names that you just mentioned right there, Professor. And again, I apologize for the technical difficulties, the different camera look. I don't know where I'm looking. So, fans, bear with me here as we're live because you know me, I'm used to live to tape, Professor. The guys on that show, Sebastian Cage, Lucas Chase, Kylon King, read down those matchups. You burned by them quick. I know the fans here are a national base here, the YouTube channel. Listen, you have over 2,500 subscribers. Your channel's exploding, and you have a lot of people on here. Let's start off locally.
All right, Dan DeMan and Kylon King. Kylon King, a student of Paradise Alley. Dustin Flash Waller against Brother Greatness. I know I did rush by him a little quick. Lorenzo Vendetta of the Battle Academy taking on Mantequilla and Lucas Chase and Sebastian Cage. So last time I saw Sebastian Cage, did he challenge Matthias over at the Annex? Maybe.
Well, let's take a look at that matchup. Sebastian Cage and Lucas Chase. Now, Lucas Chase has been grappling all over this area. We know that he's appeared nationally. He's been involved with AEW. He has his own organization, and the video that I've seen on Lucas Chase, and I know what you've seen in person.
Hmm.
Him against Sebastian Cage, who's one of the king of the independents in this area. That's going to be high flyer against more of a physical Lucas Chase. That's going to be a barn burner. And you know what else? the cagey veteran who's no one to be trifled with, Dan DeMann against Miracle Generation Kylon King, who, in my opinion, from what I'm hearing from the scouts and from what I've seen, Kylon has perhaps the brightest future out of the top guys right now in the Northeast. And then, of course, Flash Waller and Kylon are all over the place. I've been seeing a lot of video. I haven't been attending a lot of the live events, but I have been getting video sent to me and reports. And by watching you guys, that's a big show. And what's going to happen in Paradise Alley as well. Your thoughts, Professor?
Like you said, Lucas Chase is more of like you said, aggressive, more of a grappler. He's very old
He's
school,
in good
and
shape.
yeah, oh my God, and he's one of those guys. He's getting better and better. He's got some national attention on him now, so he's killing it. Going anywhere from AEW to studying under Dustin Rhodes. He's
Right.
doing
He's
very
he's
well right
been
now.
down to the factory, am I correct? And he's been to
Is
Texas,
there's the Rhodes Academy. The
the
factory was
Rhodes
Cody's.
Academy. Well,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what
The
Bully Ray
Rhodes,
said to
Rhodes,
me back in
Rhodes is
05,
Rhodes.
06.
Yeah.
You know what he
Yeah.
said, right? Give the Guardian of Chaos 5 spots and he'll fuck up for him. Can I say that live here on YouTube?
You
I'm
could
back,
say
man. I've been
whatever
off
you want.
social media for months.
I know it's crazy. You just gotta. I just share my stuff for this podcast, and I try to get out and pictures of my kids. That's it. Let's see. Kylon King. You mentioned that he's exploding. He is everywhere nowadays. Him and Dustin Flash Waller, all over the Northeast. Those guys are getting some really, really good bookings and getting a lot of attention on them. And congratulations to them. They've been killing it out there. They really have.
Well, they've been working hard.
Yeah.
They put their time in. They're doing it the right way. They were Roma trained and Mancini brained down at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. Two of the top students to come out of the facility right now. So, uh, yeah, those guys have performed well and together as the Miracle Generation and what they're doing in all the different organizations, and then coming home to Paradise Alley.
Yep.
One of the hottest teams right now in this area, for sure.
Absolutely. Don't forget that is May 6th. So check that
May
out to
6th.
everybody. Going to be moving down. Mickey Biggs. Hello. How are you? Thank you
Hey
for
Mick,
joining in.
hey Mick.
Great guy. My co-host for the NWA Spotlight every Wednesday. So go ahead and check us out tomorrow night. We'll be back here.
Hey,
Uh,
hold on while I got Biggs here. While we got Biggs here. Hold on. We're live,
uh-oh.
right? We're live?
Yeah,
We're
huh?
live. Hey Mick, congratulations on placing fourth in that recent strongman contest. I saw that since I've been back on social media. Big props there, Biggs.
Yes,
I don't know if it was
congratulations
a
to
work or
Mickey
not. I
Biggs.
don't think so. Biggs is legit.
No, he's a great guy.
I've seen you guys on that show, Rick, and I know we're bouncing back and forth on here, and
Yep.
and I'm trying to let you
That's our
talk.
style. Yep.
I
That's
do
our
like the
style.
NWA show that you guys have put together.
I appreciate it. I trying to get that out there, trying to get more attention on it, and couldn't have a better partner on that.
Yeah, Mickey
Let's
represents.
June 18th, 662 Co Avenue, Empire Pro Wrestling. This is going to be in the Paradise Alley training facility, but it's Empire Pro. Nick and Hakeem are running a show of their own. They're bringing back the organization that they ran many years ago. So far, matchups have not been announced. However, some talent has been announced. So we're just going to get into this quick. And the PWZ is an official sponsor of
Hold
the
on.
show. Yes, sir.
Hold on, Professor. I know we might be on a little bit of a lag. Are we on a lag here?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, we're good. That's why I'm always worried about technical difficulties. I want to address Nick and Hakim personally if they're watching. First off, the House of Pain, their house, their rules. This is how you have earned your stripes in the business. Not only are they one of the most dominant tag teams in the tri-state New England Northeast area, this is where you can understand why there's such a force and how they didn't make it to the bigger titles down to the NWA and get into that tournament. Now they're also into the now it's well known that they have part booking duties in Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling in certain aspects and area, and now to run their organization and get back to Empire State because they ran that in New York, obviously the Empire
Correct.
State.
Yep.
So give Nick and Hakim credit. I know they're down with a lot of different people, guys that are veterans and they've been trained and been around for a long time. So I give the Nick and Hakim uh, a lot of respect for what they're trying to do in the business, and now they're getting into the booking and promoting side of it, and that's twice as hard as being just a current talent. Think about that, Professor.
Absolutely. And PWZ is an official sponsor along with was a Smooth Lens, Caesar's photography company. So so
Listen,
far they've been.
hold on.
Yep.
Caesar Vasquez, Smooth
Yes,
Lens.
sir. Yes,
I've
sir.
seen him at so many different live events, and I've seen his
He's a
work on
great guy.
social media. Not only is he a great guy, his work in photography and the captions and the action photos that he gets because he attends all the live events are second to none. He's done a lot of work for a lot of different organizations. So not only that, his daughter, Cece, yeah, dude, kung
She's
fu
just
fighting is like a legit martial arts badass.
right.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely. She just won. What did she win? Came in. I'm not sure which place she came in, but she competed in a tournament and ranked very high in the
Yeah,
tournament.
a great family man, great people, and a big
Yep.
part of the industry. Good people.
Yeah, absolutely. I see him at a lot of shows. A lot of shows.
His
Um,
work really, really is something. Let me adjust this for a second because I'm not right in my right mind here. Go ahead. I'm sorry,
so
Professor.
so the
What do you?
talent announced for this show so far, of course, again the Cure Lucas Chase, Colossal Mike Law, and Nutrius X. They've been announcing a little bit of talent here and there. June 18th is that date. So I recommend everybody go check this out. This is going to be
Two
something
good
different.
talents, two good
Yeah,
solid talents right
yeah,
there as well.
yep. And we are Mike Law. I love Mike Law. I think he's a tremendous talent. Adonis, hello. Thank you for tuning in. So,
Adonis,
and
good
then of
people,
course
man. That's a
he's
hardcore fan right there, Adonis.
he's a menace.
Good
Getting
people.
out of here. Andy Nichols, Nutrius X is back. Correct. He is coming back for that show.
Hey, Andy Nichols.
Good to see you, friend. Thank you for tuning in. No, Adrian. Of course, we're going to break it down. We're going to get to next Saturday, excuse me, Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling Point Blank. Saturday, April 30th, 7 p.m., 62 Co Avenue. This is going to be a tremendous show. And I think that there's going to be a couple more announcements coming soon. But main event
Professor,
for
yeah,
the
run down the card. Run down the card, Professor,
absolutely
please.
main event for the PAPW title, champion Matthias taking on Chris Battle, Lucas Chase, and Bloodsaw. Let's not forget Lucas Chase is the Anytime Any Gold winner for this year, so he still holds that contract and he can cash it in at any time. So
A, a,
whether he
a
wins this match,
four-way.
yeah, whether he wins this match or loses, no matter what, he still has that contract. We have to keep that in mind.
Right. Anytime, Professor, the way I see this matchup, when you're the champion and you have to defend against whether it be two or three other men in a triple threat, a fatal four-way, you could lose the belt without actually being pinned. I personally never agreed with these type of matches, but this is the trend and there's a lot on the line. So as the champion, there's twice the pressure on you. Your thoughts on that? My opinion.
Like you said, cool. I'm not necessarily a fan of them either. I'm old school. I like a simple one-on-one. But it's been the trend for the last like what 25 years since
But
1995,
do you
something to that,
understand where I'm
96.
coming from? This is
Absolutely,
not a
I'm
this
not.
is not a
I'm not a
question.
particular fan of it either.
It's not a
I'm not.
question of old school or new
Right.
school. I like six-man tags. I like three-ways. I like gauntlet matches. There's a
Yeah.
place in this business for all of them. But when it comes to the titles, as the champion, being a manager for over 3 decades in this business and managing champions, to lose a match, even if it comes to tag teams, to lose the title and not actually be the ones who got pinned. I mean, to me, that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yes. Absolutely. I do
Can I
believe
say
that.
that on here? On this,
You can say
see if
whatever
I.
you want. This is not a censored show by any means.
Yeah, but when I cuss, Professor, I have to donate money to my granddaughter. Every time I cuss, I'm not allowed to cuss. I have to donate money. So now that'll be $5 right there. So let's keep track of that. If you have a counter on the side, This is my. I've been on StreamYard. I'm not sure if I'm liking this StreamYard. They say it puts
Uh,
5 or 10 pounds on you. Look what's going on here. We used to do this on Zoom or something, right? You become all big
we
time now,
use yeah, we
2,500
use Skype.
subscribers.
Yeah. Now I'm doing it live. Yes. So if it's not Matthias, I'd have to go with Lucas Chase. I'd be surprised if Chris Battle. Matthias has trouble with both Chase and Battle going into this, so it could be. I don't think I'm going to go with Chris Battle, but if it's not Matthias, it'd be Lucas Chase. But I have a strong feeling Matthias is going to walk away with the title,
Matthias has
or
held on
try
to
to at least.
he's held on to the title for a while.
Yep.
He is the Uruguayan sensation. He's perhaps, I think, one of the few Uruguayan professional wrestlers. He's in tremendous shape. We know
Yep.
that. Chris Battle is a veteran. He's worked with many, many stars. I'm going to give the edge. I like Matthias's chances. That's just me. I'm hoping to make it to Point Blank. I'm 99.9% sure that I'll be there for Point Blank. It's going to be a big show.
Yeah, of course we're going to be there. Mickey Biggs will be there as well. You better be there. Let's see the PAPW Tag Team Championship. The Haven, Jay Onyx and Shawn Knight taking on Hispanic Mechanics. Which what would they used to be called?
Jose and Jose B.
Yeah, they had a different name when they first came into PAPW. No, I can't remember the.
I know them as Jose and Jose B, the Hispanic
Yeah.
Mechanics. And let me tell you something about that. We know that the Haven are the
Team
fan
Espana.
favorites. Team Espana.
Andy got it. Thank you, Andy. Team
Good man,
Espana.
Andy.
Yep. Now I remember. Thank you very
They have
much.
been the up and comers. The Haven have been multi-time tag team champions now in Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. They're getting a lot of exposure. They're traveling around. But Jose and Jose B, the Hispanic Mechanics, have been a legit contender now for a solid year and a half, 2 years in Paradise Alley. This could be perhaps in Paradise Alley their toughest opponent to date for the Haven currently.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Haven have overcome quite a bit, winning the tag titles in a ladder match against the House of Pain. I don't think, not sure how anybody expected the House of Pain to climb up a ladder. No offense, Nick and Hakim, but
Whoa, man! Whoa, man!
I mean that was a
Whoa!
brutal. That was no offense to my boys.
Listen, I was there. I saw the ladder match. It was one of the most amazing matches I've seen in Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. But I'll say that to say this because I tell it like it is. Don't underestimate the Hispanic Mechanics. I'm a Team Espana. Jose B. Maybe they'll bring in Jose C. I don't know. Jay Onyx, Shawn Knight. Again, they are fan favorites. They've been together since birth. And who knows each other better than Shawn and Jay? So don't be surprised if they go on a long run with the titles as well. One of the better younger talent in they're still a young talent. The sky is limitless. Let's see what happens here at Point Blank. It's going to be interesting locally here in the tri-state New England Northeast area. There is so much going on, Rick, and I'm professor, if you will, and I'm hoping that we cover it. There's a lot going on.
And don't forget, that's another team that's getting out there quite a bit as well. They're doing stuff in Beyond and Limitless and stuff just with the other members of the Miracle Generation. Those guys are out there. The Haven.
Right. And listen,
Yeah.
blood, sweat, and tears, a test of
Yep.
strength. There's some unbelievable. What I've seen coming out of Slick Wagner's facility has been incredible. Those guys put on solid shows. They have veterans and stars
Yep.
at Test of Strength. So there's a lot of good groups, and we know that Northeast comes through here and they bring in the big stars. And then the guys here, the young talent that have been Roma trained, Mancini brained, and other schools and areas around here, whether it be Slick School, even the Dudleys, they get to put people out into the independent circuit, and then everybody wins. Look at all the stuff that's going on in Massachusetts. I'll talk about New World Wrestling Extreme. I saw you and Bull Dread last night on your show talking about that. And that was an excellent conversation last night. Like I said, I enjoyed that. It's good
Yeah.
to see Dredd. He's been around for a while, and I've said this before. We're getting off track here about veterans and stuff like that. When you get 20
It's
years in the
okay.
business, work smart. You don't have to work hard. Stay in your wheelhouse. I've said it to, not that they needed my advice, but listen, I've consulted with them all. But I've said to Zombie, I've said to Dredd, I've said to many others, Kenny Roberts, I've said to Big Jim Anderson in the past, God rest his soul, Big Jim. I think about you every time, Jim. Every video that I do, I think about Big Jim when I see a clothesline. You work smart. You do tag teams. You do. They want to call them trios now. It's a fucking 6-man tag team match. Okay, instead of this
That's
trio
something.
stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Well, they're trying to
you
be
work
fancy
like
with a lot of
that.
stuff like that.
You could
Yeah.
work the indies, and you can work 20 or 25 years, 30 years in this business. What I see in today's current product, and I'll include guys like Flash Waller, Kylon King, The Haven, uh, the Battle Academy, different folks that have come out of Paradise Alley and that are locally out of the other schools, Zachariah Gibbs and guys that I know well and that I've seen, and there's plenty of other names that I'm missing. It's not easy out there on independence, and you're coming out right now. There's no better time to be able to get out and get work right now if you're a talent. I said it in the chat room last night talking to you and Dredd. So you work smart. Who knows the kind of bumps these kids take? And I'm talking about guys like the Miracle Generation. I love them, but are you going to last 20 or 25 years in this business like that?
I think guys like, and no offense to him, I think he's a tremendous performer. Guys like Flash, who's doing some of those maneuvers. He's a great talent, like I said, but I mean, you remember Spider Dan Quirk, what happened to him, correct? Yeah, I
As
believe you
well,
worked that show.
yes.
Anything like that, falling straight on his head on a hardwood floor in a gymnasium, and he's no longer with us today. That's
I
what
was
you got to
not
think
at
about.
that show.
You were not
Uh,
working that show.
I was not at that show. I believe I was working a Northeast show for Mike
Okay.
Lombardi that weekend. Danny Quirk ran my website back then when it was web TV and things like that. So Danny Quirk was going to be a young star. He reminds me, Flash Waller reminds me of Danny Quirk as far as tall, lean, rangy, in good shape, high flyers, risk takers. And I'm not saying that to scare people. I'm just talking about the
Mhm.
business that it is what it is. You speak truth. You bring up Danny Quirk Spider. It's on.
Did we lose you? Uh-oh. I think we lost the Guardian of Chaos. I think we lost him. Is he having an outage? There you are. Can you hear me?
I think I'm here again. We're down in the bunker. Do you understand what goes down here? And I'm going to say this. I'm getting off
Yep,
topic. We're bouncing all over the place.
that's
I
quite all
was
right. We're just trying
whether
to
it's
make a point here, and I think it's a legitimate point. I mean,
right
we want these guys to stay with us as opposed to not be here at some point.
and if you work smart then again, listen, we know what professional wrestling is all about. You have to be able to trust your body, sacrifice yourself to the guys and gals that you're working with. I don't think people realize that. Look what happened to Big E. Look at what happened to Ray Phoenix. I can go on and on with guys that have gotten hurt. Look what people thought happened to Punk on AEW this past week. One wrong move, and we see it in the independents, we see it in the bigger organizations, and you're done. So those are valid points. What does the chat say about this? I realize we could hold this
Uh,
interview in a phone booth and there'd be plenty of room. I understand that.
Nothing just yet. Just Mickey informing me that you froze. Let's get to the next match, though. All right, a triple
Mickey, it's the
threat
story of
match.
my life, Mick. The story of my life.
A triple threat match with Jarrett Diaz, Mark Alexander, and Sunset Steve Garcia. Sunset Steve, another great up and coming talent. He's really good. However, Mickey Biggs and his boy Gregory Baylor have been kind of harassing Steve lately. I wonder what Mickey's going to have to say about that. I think Mark Alexander is a great up and comer. Jared Diaz is also. This is going to be a nice, good, fast paced, high flying match. However, like you said, these guys got to be careful. I think this is going to
Well,
be a really
hold
like a
on there,
really
Professor.
good match here. Yes, yes,
Hold on,
yes. Am I
Professor.
moving too quick for you?
Well, I might be in a lag here. Who knows? But did you have coffee or something like that?
I never
I'm the
drink
one
soda.
drinking the Red Bull.
I never drink soda anymore.
Jarrett Diaz, I've had the pleasure to see him live, and I've called his matches. Is he like a Barstool Sports media type athlete or something like that?
I'm not
He
necessarily sure. I heard he was an employee for the E. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that was
well,
true or
he's
not.
a good athlete. Uh,
Yep.
Other grapplers that you were talking about in that match, Professor Jarrett,
Mark Alexander, who
Mark
is
Alexander, I don't know a lot about. Greg
he is
Baylor.
a
Go ahead. I'm
Mark
sorry.
Alexander. Nope. Mark Alexander is a student of Slick Wagner Brown at the Texas Strength School. Very good
So I know
young
he's
up and
solid. Then
comer.
I know he's a solid
He's very
worker.
good. He's only I don't know if he's more than a year in. Um, and Sunset Steve Garcia, who is a really good up and comer
Well,
as well.
of course, I know Sunset Steve. I've seen him many times at Paradise Alley, and to me, in my opinion, from what I've seen, not only live but from what I've seen in person calling some of his matches as well. Sunset Steve has advanced very rapidly in this business, and I think he's got a bright future. I've seen some of his work. He's getting out there now. And these guys, if as long as they continue to get down to the facility, they get down to the school, they go wherever it is they're being trained. Again, if they come out of Slick Wagner's, I know they're solid. If they come out of where Justin Flores is Lucas Chase guys are training. I know that they're solid. They come out of the Paradise 4 and Paradise Alley. I don't have to say any more. You know they're solid. So as long as they're coming out of those schools, I know that they're solid workers. The Greg Baylor kid, very, very green, but I'm hearing good things. I've seen some good things on social media. And that's three out of the four. Who was the fourth guy in that matchup?
That's it. Just a three-way. I'm going to put this back up on the
Three-way.
screen. Mickey Biggs is saying
I
that
can't read that. I
that
can't read that.
well, I'll read it to you. That the next PAPW champion is gorgeous Greg Baylor. I have a hard time believing that, Mickey. No offense. Well,
Well,
yeah,
I'm not saying he's the next champion, Mick. Cut me, Mick. Uh, Baylor is, I think he's a solid up and comer. Listen, the kid's green, but he's in good shape. He's got
hmm
the attitude. And if he continues to train, there's no limits right now because, again, I've said this many times in different chats and in different interviews that I've been blessed to do. Uh, there's no better time right now to be in this business. If you're a talent, if you're looking to get signed, if you're looking to get work, if you want to train, you get yourself to a reputable place and you can get out there right now and make the contacts and act professional and carry yourself the right way. And don't listen to everybody that tries to get in your head. There's no better time right now to be in the business, and you can get a lot of work. Although, if we were to talk about the big time, you look at the rosters, there's a lot of guys that haven't been on TV in quite some time, but that's another story for another time. So uh,
Let's see
I
if
see a lot of
Mickey's
potential.
saying. Did you see what he said tomorrow? I'm assuming you're talking about the Instagram video that came out. I haven't been able. I know it came out. I haven't been able to watch it yet, though.
I know nothing
I
about
have-
social media over the last couple of months, Professor. I really don't.
yeah. Also, RJ Rude is going to be in singles action, returning to Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. His tag team partner. We've talked about this a few weeks ago. Me and Marcel.
I saw that show.
Zane Bernardo is retiring or retired. So he's RJ Rude is going to be in singles action.
Well, let's talk about that for a
But no
second.
opponent, no opponent has been named as at this time.
Well, I appreciate the information, Professor. That's why I've said you're one of my go-to podcasts. Whether it's JD from Off the Script, whether it's Don Tony, Joe Cronin, uh, PWZ, those are the guys that I listen to as my go-to. What I'm thinking is going to happen, Professor. Stand by. Let me
Go
wet
for
my
it.
whistle. Hold that hold that thought, everybody. We're live. We're live. We're live. What we were talking about.
RJ,
Zane Bernardo.
RG
I
Rude, Zane Bernardo retiring.
Zane
Yep.
Bernardo retired. I saw that someone had sent me something via text. I was lucky enough to call Zane and RJ Rude's matches. They were in Paradise Alley as youngsters. They were punk rock kids. They grew up together. They were like what I would say an older version of the Haven, or the Haven's a newer version of what Zane Bernardo and RJ Rude are. RJ Rude is in incredible shape. He's an all-around entertainer, not only a grappler. He's well educated, well versed, and the guy's in a rock band. So
Hmm.
for him to come home is big. Zane Bernardo, I want to give him all props. That young man really went far in this business. They traveled all over the globe. They were in there with some unbelievable talent. So RJ coming back to Paradise Alley, that could be a future champion in PAPW again.
And he's still very young on top of that.
Incredible shape. He looks good. And I wish Zane Bernardo, I'll see you down the road, brother. God bless you. He was an incredible talent. Roma
Yeah.
trained, Mancini brained.
Mike Canado, we're going to get into your comment just a bit. I have a
Hey,
this
Mr.
day.
Trivia, good
I
man.
have a this
Trivia's
day in
good man.
history segment that I'm going to be getting into very shortly. So I do have a history segment because we like talking history.
Well,
The
hopefully
Guardian of Chaos.
I don't. Thank you, sir. Hopefully, I have a couple different sets of headsets down here. I originally was going to do this from the lounge, Professor. I don't. I'm as confused as a baby at Hooters. I got all kinds of different things going on here. I'm really discombobulated. Go ahead, Professor.
I think this is somewhat big news. At least it's big for me. This next segment, I'm going to be. Kushida is gone from WWE.
Well, hold on. Wait. We're live, right? We're just transitioning right from the local.
Yeah,
I
we're
know
done with the locals. We're done with the local stuff. There's nothing else to talk
listen,
about. We covered it all.
we're well over a half an hour here. I understand that, Professor. And technical difficulties, jokes, all kidding aside, what are we gonna transition into from here? Because the local scene, that
The
right
local
there was
scene is
just
tremendous,
unbelievable.
and in the
What are we
events
gonna
that we just
transition into?
covered, we're covering. We're right now. We're just covering into some regular news.
Just some
Yeah,
regular
it was.
news, rumors, and notes. Hey,
Yep,
listen,
yesterday
I
it was
told you.
announced. Sean Ross Sapp announced that Kushida is gone from WWE. His contract is expired. So once the contract expires, there is no 30-day or 90-day clause. Considering he's an NXT talent, it would be a 30-day clause. NXT talent has 30. Main roster has 90. So if he's expired, he can pretty much go anywhere he'd like if his contract is actually expired. The rumor is that he's going to be returning to New Japan, where he was one of the top junior heavyweights and held that title 6 times. So I'm looking forward to that. Seeing
Sheeta's
him return.
an unbelievable talent. So
Yeah.
wherever they end up, Sheeta was unbelievable. New Japan is, speaking of that, if the big thing coming out of around rumors and notes, the injury to, was it Otani, the spinal injury that happened over there within the last 24 to 48 hours. Otani
Yes.
had an
He didn't he
unbelievable
land
injury.
through a brain buster. Is that correct? And then
Correct.
yeah.
I apologize that we jumped off the subject of
No, that's
Ishii.
okay. Yep.
But a buckle bomb, and this is what I talk about, getting back to whether we're talking about the local scene or now not the big organizations. You take risks and maneuvers like that. Here's a veteran, an unbelievable legend from over there, and he took the buckle bomb, and right now he's got severe spinal cord injuries. Don't know what his status and update is. And again, I mentioned earlier, Big E. This is why it's no joke, fans.
And that's what
I'm tired of people
put
talking about. Go ahead. I
Right,
apologize.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
getting off on a
No, and
tangent.
that's what put Sting out of action for a while too, when Seth Rollins did that to him, threw him into the buckle, and
Right.
yeah,
Injuries are no joke. We know it at the local level, and we know it at the at any level. So that's a perfect example of what we were talking about. So I'm glad we got a chance to address that. I had notes somewhere, and I ended up with
Nick Payne is in the chat. What is happening,
Grumpy
Nick?
Cat.
How are you, Nick? We just got finished up wrapping up the Connecticut area segment. We talked about Empire Pro for quite a bit, so happy to have you here, sir.
Hey, big props to Nick Payne, the House of Pain. And I'm looking forward to Empire State, and I wish them all the best. That might be my headsets to have Nick here. HOP, their house, their rules right now here on the PWZ podcast.
Yep.
Rick, am I still coming in good here, Professor?
You're coming in good. Am I coming in okay? Because I got a temporary
Can I
headset.
just tell you? Can I just tell you
Yeah,
this, Rick? All kidding aside, man, it's been a long time since I've been back on. You look tremendous, man. You look marvelous.
I'm getting fatter. I mean, but thank you.
Listen, you're preaching to the choir. At least you have like a green screen, and that's why I say when you come to my channel, it's raw, it's unique, it's unedited, it's unscripted, it's a one-man show, it's reality show, it's reality TV. What you have done to transform your podcast and what you do to help out wrestling organizations, especially with Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, and then your show, Showtime, and what you've done on your own has been an incredible channel. So I can appreciate the graphics, the bells and the whistles, and putting the time and effort. It shows your professionalism and dedication and what you're trying to present in your product. With me, I have so many sources that I have to outsource my sources. So I'll keep it raw and unique, one man, and that's doing this is a lot of fun for us. So I appreciate the opportunity. I just want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ just to be here on the PWZ. And it's put all the levity aside, kid.
I appreciate having you. It's been a while, and we got to keep this a regular thing because 7 months is just way too long, to be honest with you. Anyways,
now, Professor, I greatly appreciate that. Let me see, Stan. No, maybe I won't do that. Am I still coming in good technically?
You're sounding perfect.
All right, beautiful. I can't wait to go back and watch this on the replay. It ought to be it ought to be entertaining. What else do you have in the rumors, news, and notes? I've watched everything. I'm up to current on WWE, AEW. You know that I'm solid and push that out there. So let's see what happens here.
Thank you, Mickey Biggs. Yeah, I had a headset break on me today, so I'm using a temporary set.
It's better than having your chair break on you.
I ordered a new one. It should be in tomorrow.
King Kong Bundy, God rest his soul.
Nothing. This weekend's New Japan Strong is going to have Buddy Matthews and Swerve Strickland. Matthews is taking on. Sorry if I mispronounce this. I'm sorry. Yui Yamura. And Strickland is taking on Blake Christian. Blake Christian, actually, former NXT talent that, what was he let go last year? I don't remember the name he used in NXT. I remember him more as Blake Christian, to be honest with you, everywhere he went. So that's promises to be a great, great show. This day in history, 1939.
What is today? Is today April 19th?
Today is the April 19th. Correct. April 19th. And let me go back up to this comment, if I can find it. So I want to post this. This one was a very good one. And this goes along with what I'm about to say. Happy birthday to Ox Baker. Mike Kanata says, I want to say happy birthday, to my good friend, the fantastic Ox Baker. May he rest in peace. So the legendary Ox Baker was born on this day. And let's not forget, he was also in Escape from New York with Kurt Russell.
Well, Professor, I can't believe, to be quite honest, had I known that Mr. Trivia, who's a legend in the broadcast industry, he's been around for a long time, and as a super fan and so on and so forth, I respect Mr. Trivia. You held on to that question for that long when it was about Ox Baker. I had a chance to work with Ox Baker several times. You talk about Escape from New York. You talk about legendary matches. You want to talk about Ox Baker. Go back and look at the Cleveland Riot match between Ox Baker and Ernie the Cat Ladd, when in that match, Baker's giving him the heart punch and the fans are going into a riot and they're throwing everything into the ring back. And this might have been in the late 60s. I've seen the video several times in my research. And Ernie Ladd was going along with it until the fans got crazy and you heard Ernie Ladd. And this is what Ox had said too. When Ernie Ladd was famous for saying this, the natives are getting restless. And Ox Baker was like, look, come on, brother, just a few more punches. And Ernie Ladd was looking up at him, all 6'8", 300 pounds, Ernie Ladd. And what was Baker, who lived right here in the Constitution State? What was Ox, about 6'4"? 270. Yeah. I know Mickey Biggs. Hopefully, he's still
he was
watching.
Trained by
he was
him.
closely associated with Ox. So again, Ladd looks up, and great history And that's what I'm all about here. The natives are getting restless, and they finally jump out of the ring, and they jump over the barricade, Professor, and they run through the crowd. Baker gets clobbered from behind with a chair. These guys were lucky. Go back, fans, check out that video. All you have to do is punch it in on YouTube, Google. Well, I would use DuckDuckGo, but that's another story for another time. Unbelievable. And
I'm
what were
more
you saying about
familiar
Mickey
with
Biggs? I cut you off.
Mickey Biggs was trained by Ox Baker, and Ox Baker
Correct.
lived
Well
in
known.
Hart.
That's well known.
Yep, Ox Baker lived in Hartford up until his passing. Um, Also,
Well, when
I
I
was
was
more
talking
familiar
with
with.
Ox, hold,
Yep,
hold, hold on,
go
Professor.
ahead. Yep, yep.
When I was talking with Ox for, I believe he was running. He had the barn, and I believe he was also running in Scotland, Connecticut, and might have been out there for a while. And he was training guys out there, and I know that he had talked to a lot of different guys here in Connecticut, local guys involved in cable and stuff like that. Baker, not enough a tribute goes out to a guy like that. So I go out and see Escape from New York. Watch Baker's history and his career, and I know Mickey can appreciate that. So I didn't want to let that go. I don't have a chance to get on here and say much about different platforms and legends like that. So it's nice to see that. God rest his soul. Today was his birthday. I'd like to give you a
Let's see.
friggin' heart punch.
I was
Not
more
you. Not
familiar
you,
with.
Professor. Not you. Not you.
Not me. I watched him growing up in his later period days working for the Savoldis, if you remember them.
Of course,
And
now was that IWCCW?
it was prior to that. I think it was ICW at the time before they added the
ICW.
extra added the extra W and the extra C. So yeah. That was in the 80s. I think mid 80s before, and then I did see him at some point in the AWA in the extremely early 80s. So
Yes.
that's what I remember the most about that. Also
Think of.
today,
Go ahead. I'll bet
go ahead.
my back. Go ahead.
Nope, we can if we're talking about is it continuing with the Ox Baker
No,
story?
Ox. Again,
Nope.
just thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it, Mr. Trivia. Good man.
Also, 1980, Ric Flair defeated Jimmy Snuka in Greensboro, North Carolina, to win his fourth NWA United States Heavyweight Championship. Of course, Ric Flair would go on to win many, many, many world titles.
Well, let's talk
The
about that last
greatest
night. I
legend in
had brought
professional wrestling.
again Flair and Snuka. I had a chance to work with Jimmy Snuka on more than one occasion. He was well known in this area as well. He even lived in this area for this part, and had a chance and was even introduced to Ric Flair at one time by a legend here in this area, Bull Montana, the legendary Bull
I remember
Montana.
him. Yep.
He and I went down to the Boston Garden. This was in the 90s, early 90s. And, that's when I had done a couple of appearances up that way in independent shows. And Bull, I don't know if he had done it intentionally, although I have been on events with Kevin Sullivan back then. He introduced me to Ric Flair in the locker rooms at Boston Garden. Because Bull, everybody loved Bull Montana. He's a legend. And he introduced me to Flair, who was right there. And that's why I asked Bull Dredd, because I know Flair gave a great compliment to Dredd in his career. And I asked him about the helicopter. I have this unique thing of sometimes always catching people in a compromising position. And as Bull introduced me to Ric Flair in the Boston Garden in the early 90s, I believe it was. I'll have to check and research that out. I did happen to see the old helicopter. If you saw Dark Side of the Ring, if you're a fan of the Dark Side of the Ring and the plane ride from hell, and I want to be politically correct, and that you talk about what Flair's known for. I want to keep it a rated PG show in case anyone's watching.
This is
So I was
rated
asking
PG.
a little bit of levity. If you know what I'm talking about, do you understand what I'm saying here, Professor?
Yeah. I got you.
Well, all right. I guess
Yes,
we're moving past it.
yes, I know. I got it. I saw that as well. Let's see.
Wait,
It
wait,
is
wait,
also
wait, wait. What
yeah,
do you mean
yeah,
you
yeah,
saw
yeah. Where are
that?
we? The Dark Side of the Ring. You're referring to the Dark Side of the Ring, the
Oh,
episode?
Dark Side of the Ring. I
Yeah, yeah.
thought you meant you saw Ric Flair
No,
naked.
no.
Okay. Well, that's what I was talking about.
Yep. No, we did not talk about the show at the Cadillac Ranch yet. No details outside of the date and venue have come out yet. So
You are right
Paradise.
about that. But
Yeah.
here's what I can say, Professor. Here's what I can say. So that's why I'm glad you got me on here to throw out some news and notes. I appreciate it. June 29th at
Yep.
the legendary Cadillac Ranch. It's Armageddon in Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. That's the name of the show. It's called Armageddon. It's going to be held at, listen, the Cadillac Ranch is one of the most famous country western and current saloons, venues, restaurants / bars. Huge. I can compare it to a smaller version of like a Gillies or the old Stockyard down in Nashville, smaller, but you understand. I've performed there many times. Jason Knight and Assault Pro Wrestling had run there, Acid Pro. A lot of different independent groups have run into Cadillac Ranch, and I had a chance to work with Homicide and myself against Joel Gertner and Jason Knight at the Cadillac Ranch, and also Crippler Kevin Landry against Judas Young. So very familiar with that venue. What Mario Mancini and Paradise Alley and Paul Roma and Paul Perez and Big Steve Tracy are bringing to the Cadillac Ranch on June 29th. Armageddon, how apropos is that in the times we're living in here in 2022? It's going to be an amazing event. It's going to be a show that you have never seen before from Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. It's going to be an Attitude Era-esque type event with a lot of stars, a lot of different attraction matches, and it's going to be a trend. And what I have heard coming down, fans, you're not going to want to miss June 29th at the Cadillac Ranch. I know I'm going on about this, and I haven't heard of any big matches, but I do know that
I've heard of some of the talent being brought in, but I have no matches have yet been announced.
Well, let's briefly listen. I know we're a ways away. We got Point Blank coming up. That's the big show for Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. We covered it a little while ago. We're on to the big time. But I know we're trying to bounce all over here with news. Quickly run some names out for that Cadillac Ranch show. I know we're way ahead of ourselves. You don't have to go too crazy.
So far,
I appreciate
it. Kevin Sullivan, which I'm very excited about. Kevin Sullivan, just incredible. Andrew
Another
Anderson.
legend, area guy, incredible man, just incredible.
Andrew Anderson. Let's see what else.
Another legend, the Purple Haze, Andrew Anderson. He is now the Purple Haze, Andrew Anderson, and I believe Kevin Sullivan is his manager.
So he is basically he's the newer version of, say, where Mark Lewin was as the Purple Haze Maniac. Mark Lewin. Okay.
If you remember,
Mark Lewin was an incredible talent. Maniac Mark Lewin. He really was. He was an incredible wrestler.
Well, I hope we can go off on a tangent here. I realize this
of course we can.
I realize this is the PWZ network, and whenever I come on here, this always happens. I feel like when I talk to you, Professor, and I said it to my wife earlier. I said, when I hook up with the professor, whether it's, every couple of weeks, every 6 months, or every year, I feel like I'm sitting down at a diner or I'm in a pub. I'm having a meal or I'm having a beer or something like that. And I'm just talking to the common man. That's what I feel like. It's just a regular conversation. So I appreciate that. That's what I feel like here on the PWZ.
I believe there are more talents that are named that have not been mentioned. I believe Holiday is going to be a part of it. I believe JT Dunn is going to be a part of it. Outside of that, I don't. Oh, Bull Dread, of course. I don't know how we mentioned that last night. That should be quite the show. I'm looking forward to it. As we get more details, we will, in fact.
So that's going to be one not to miss. And again,
21 and over.
Well, I was going to say that 21 and over. Sorry. It's legendary on the main artery in the Northeast area here in New England area. Not only that, you talk about Andrew Anderson being the Purple Haze, and with Kevin Sullivan, you go back to that time where it all started in Florida Championship Wrestling with Nancy Woman at the time, and Maniac Mark Lewin and Bob Roop, who was Mucka Singh, and yes. Mark Lewin was the Purple Haze, and you remember him coming up out of the ocean there and the beach down there in Florida, and what Sullivan, carrying the snake and the whole satanic thing back then really pushed the envelope and set up a lot of things moving forward. So for them to be there, and you look back at that history, I want fans to go back and look at those videos from then. This man's going to be here for Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. That's what's happening at Armageddon on June 29th. Is that a Wednesday night, 21 and over?
It's a Wednesday night, and I believe they
Wow.
one of Paradise Alley's shows. I believe they have Power Play just a few days before at the
Well,
facility.
and here's what I
It's a
do know,
busy
because you
month
know,
for them.
my
Sorry,
apologies, Professor, because
my
you know I'll
apologies.
cut you off
Sorry.
all day.
Yeah,
I'll cut you off all night. You know that my good friend is Mario Mancini.
yep.
One thing I do know about Armageddon, this is what makes it such a monster show. Not only the talent, it's going to be on Fight TV. You do realize that, right? I know we're here on
Yes,
YouTube. You know, I know we're rambling on here. We've jumped all over the place. We're coming up on probably at least 50 minutes, maybe an hour. But this is going to be on Fight TV. The last time we were on Fight TV was Rumble in Paradise, which was our debut with my broadcast partner. And he's going on to big things. I see him on all the Alley Fights videos. And I know we jumped back here to the local scene. So I apologize. Talking Tommy Saban. I hope Tommy sees the replay or is watching live. Talking Tommy Saban is the future of the broadcast sports journalist industry. A big props to Tommy Saban. Absolutely.
he's
Just
now
wanted to
calling
throw that out
baseball. He's now calling baseball for his college team. So congrats to him. He's very excited about that.
there. Now, you've interviewed Tommy before as a one-on-one. You've had
He,
him on here. I know you have a big lineup this week. You had Bull Dread last night. Uh, I'm blessed to be on here tonight and humbled by that. Tomorrow night, I believe you have a young stud, a stallion, if you will, Mr. MIT,
that's
Octavius
two. Yep, that's 2 weeks from.
Tavis, Mr. Tavis.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks from today.
Oh,
I'm
two
gonna have
weeks.
yep, 2 weeks from today. That is May 2nd. And don't forget, next Tuesday I have Sunset Steve Garcia. So I want everybody to check that.
Another young
Yep.
star out of Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. And I'm going to go back and cut me
There's a
off if you
message
want,
here.
Professor.
There's a message here for you before you get into that. Nick Payne wants to know, when are we getting GOC back on commentary?
Look, Nick is a good-looking guy. He has one of the most amazing beards I've ever seen on a talent. You know, a lot of people have unbelievable beards, whether it's Eric Rowan or whether it's someone like Braun Strowman, whether it's someone like the late, great Brody Lee. Nick Payne has what kind of beard wax do you think he uses? Of Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, to answer your question, is my home. And of course, I'll be back. I'm going to be there for Point Blank. We have to remember something. I know there's transitions, and I know Talking Tommy has taken over and done the alley fights in certain shows, and it's in great hands. Chaos is going nowhere. Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling is my home. Of course, I'm going to be back. And we're even talking about, and I know there was some talk, and I've seen some video, and I saw you do it too, Professor. I've heard it. Some studio voiceover work is also something that I thought was what you guys were doing was fantastic. The production and what's going on down there at the facility and where PAPW is running at its home in 662 Co Avenue in East Haven, Connecticut. It really has been unbelievable. I miss the bigger venues. That's why Cadillac Ranch is going to be unbelievable. You know, our home at one time was the Greater New Haven JCC in Woodbridge. What an unbelievable venue that was. I mean, we could talk about when Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, again, I'm changing things, running shows at the Mohegan Sun a couple of different times, Crazy Eights. What was the first show, PAPW? I should know that because we hooked up and it's out there on video. Shouldn't I know that? But anyway,
Nick,
to get to Nick's, I'll be back, Nick Payne. I'm not going. I'm in the Hall of Fame. You guys, as a matter of fact, let me get on a tangent here. As a matter of fact, Nick, you and Hakim inducted
oh,
me into the class of 2020 Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I'm not going anywhere, man.
Nick
Where,
says
where am I going?
his beard oil is from virgin badger blood.
What? Virgin Badger blood?
Hakim, hello. Thank you, Hakim, for tuning in. Hope you are well, my friend.
Wow. I'm going to
We
say
got both the
that
House
just
of Pain in the chat here.
well, let me say something here for a second because this is live. So this is great about live. You never know what I'm going to say or what's going to happen. Again, I'm not responsible for what I'm saying. I got the ice packs on here. I've Red Bull. It gives me wings. Have you seen the size of the arms on Hakim Ali?
Yep.
Three-time Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champions, multi-tag team champions for several other organizations throughout the territory of the tri-state New England Northeast area. Should have made it kind of like teams like the Now, Hale Collins, and Vic Delicious, should have made it to the NWA Crockett Cup and the NWA Tag Team Tournament. Just my opinion, because I know that I put that out there on social media then. These
Same.
guys have dominated the area. They should be traveling nationwide to me, and they're still up and comers. And now with Empire, so they're going to see what the business is really all about when you're a talent. And you have to do some of the booking, run your own company, payroll, training, security, pleasing. That it's going to be interesting because Nick and Hakim have the talent, they have the mind, they're storytellers, emotional investment, ring psychology. I have a lot of faith in Empire State. What I've seen Nick and Hakim do for Paradise Alley when they were responsible for doing a lot of things in alley fights. So listen to the talent of the people. First off, we know who that. I'm going to ramble here. Fuck talking. I can't say. Can I say that? That's
Sure.
more money
Go
in the
for it.
tip jar for my granddaughter. Man, I'm going to owe a lot of money. Hopefully it gets this. I don't want her to go to college. I want to go to a trade school. Anyway, that's another story for another time. Follow my channel. Follow me on all social media platforms. But I'm going to say
Yes.
this. Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. Let's look what we have here. I'm going to slide it a little bit, not against anybody else. And it's because I know them and that's my home. Paul Roma, Mario Mancini, Paul Perez, Big Steve. Let's push that aside. We know their credentials. We know what the school's all about. We know they've produced Richard Holiday, who is a power couple with Alicia Atut, and MLW star, former a Caribbean champion. Richard Holiday is unbelievable. We talk about students that have come out of that school, whether it be Miracle Generation. We talk about the minds, the talent, and the brains. Showtime Marcel Williams, who we know has had a lot to do with helping talent, coaching people along, and an unbelievable storyteller himself, and has had an unbelievable history at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. To be in his mind, to watch him on your show, and then to be able to work with him in PAPW and what he did for Alley Fights, and being like in the inner circle, if you will, of PAPW. Look at the minds there. And then we talk about who we're talking about now, Nick and Hakim, the emotional investment and what they bring to the business. Certain guys, and I'm going to expose some of the things. Lou Jacobs I know has contributed a lot to PAPW with different storytelling, and just look at the talent. You have some of the most experienced guys in wrestling, from the Zebras of Justice, Bill Thompson. Q has worked for us before. El Ref, not only does he have perhaps the biggest arms, just look at the talent and the minds that to contribute. And then there's the voice, Matt DeCourt. I can go on and on and on that contribute. But if you look at the minds that run the business, that's why it's a successful alternative in the independent scene for what we're trying to do. And that's why I wanted to bring back this touch tonight instead of getting onto the big time. And I'm reverting back to the roots here and the backbone of this industry, which is the independent circuit. And you can see it with all the great things and what guys like the Miracle Generation and the whole roster of PAPW and what the minds have brought in and what's going to continue to move forward. Let me get off my soapbox there.
No, you're absolutely right. This mainly what this show is about is the New England independent circuit, and we're glad to always talk about that. And Paradise Alley, one of my favorite organizations, and I'm so glad to be involved with them as often as I am.
Well, again, there's a lot of reputable schools. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of people that are running in this area. You go to Rhode Island, Matt, again, a guy that I've had a history with, Trooper Gilmore, Jimmy Allen, James Allen, who runs New World Wrestling Extreme. I've had a history with Slick Ragnar Brown, Bobby Ocean, Test of Strength, and all the stars they bring, and a history with Lombardi and Northeast Wrestling, and of course with Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, and too many other groups to mention, not to mention all the top groups out of Massachusetts. Now there's Beyond, which is one of the best groups that are running in this area. Limitless has its talent. I know Blitzkrieg is out there, and just mentioning different groups and organizations. Let's not forget, right over the border, one of the biggest groups in independent wrestling, and that's never talked about. When you get guys like Montekia out of there, or Smooth Blackman, let's talk about sometimes House of Glory and the stars that Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling has brought in from there. You also have Blood, Sweat, and Tears. We said with Lucas Chase, and now Empire with the HOP. If you're not working, if you're a talent and you're serious and you've been trained, and I don't care where it is, and you can't get work and you can't improve your skills and learn, then I don't know what you're doing in this business right now. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you should go on to something else. Look at what PAPW also provides that other groups don't. And I know I'm bouncing all over here. At times, at any given moment, you could walk into PAPW, Professor, and you know this, and you could see a Roma or Mario or Richard Holiday or a Showtime Marcel Williams or the House of Pain or Chris Battle, who's one of the guys down there that helps out and coaches. Look what he's done with the incredible guys like Hunter Tarka and Skyler and Lorenzo Vendetta and other guys that I don't even know who I'm missing. The Battle Academy and what they've done. And just what I've seen in videos, and you've been there in person, and I'm rambling. Give me your thoughts on the young talent and what you see going forward with PAPW. I don't want to talk about AEW, New Japan, the NWA.
Some of these kids coming out of there these days. The Battle Academy, I think. There's Hunter.
Did I miss Jake Hunter? Is that who I missed?
Jake Lynn.
Jake Lynn. How could I miss him? He's like a giant. Jake Lynn, Hunter Tarka, Lorenzo Vendetta, and I see that Skylar is back.
She came back over the weekend. Was that last Friday?
Now, is it Skylar Gray?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, well, listen, sometimes you know that I have the brain of a dehydrated BB. I have amnesia and deja vu at the same time. I think I've forgotten this before.
I think some of the young talent they've got some of the best in the New England area, to be honest with you. Look at these kids like Lorenzo, a good up-and-comer. Hunter is actually a tremendous wrestler, has some amateur experience as well. So, and then there's guys like Sunset Steve. And then we went on a whole thing about Greg Baylor earlier. The guy could talk. He just needs to put in a little bit more work in the ring. But he also has a lot of potential as well.
Oh, and again, I'm excited for RJ Rude to return. Who knows when Waves and Curls will come back? They've done a lot of great things and have been on AEW. Who knows if PAPW will ever get Bear Country back, who's moved on to certain matches at AEW. Look at the talent. They're going to bring back JT Dunn. I was lucky enough at the Mohegan Sun Casino to call a JT Dunn and Richard Holiday match, and it was unbelievable. I think it went like 25 minutes. So JT Dunn has moved on. He was in NXT. Listen, why this guy? Did JT go to AEW Dark as well?
He was on the AEW Dark 2 times.
I did see that.
My knowledge, and I think he made a backstage appearance. No, here's a good.
Right now, you can get on those programs. That doesn't matter. Those guys aren't any better than what some of these stars are doing on the independent circuit, because you can work anywhere. But when you get the chance to be on TV, it's all about what, Professor and fans? It's all about exposure. Exposure. Yep. If you can get exposure, that makes you different than just being a solid independent wrestler, even if you're not as good. I've said that all the time. You could be, look at how long it took someone like Mello to get into who worked for PAPW at that time, who was on the same card with JT Dunn and Richard Holiday, Carmelo Hayes. Look at the guys that have gone on to do big things. Shane Swerve Strickland also worked for Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling when we did the show at the Memorial Hockey Rink. Just a different talent. Even Chris Bay, if I'm not mistaken, from Impact, had shown up at
Yep.
a Friday Night Alley fights. There's more talent. There's a lot of guys that I'm missing that are current too.
It's
There's
funny
no
you said that. The night that he was at that show, his tryout match in Impact, Chris Bay, his tryout match for Impact aired that same night on Impact TV.
and look what Lucas Chase is doing. This
Yes.
this this dude is a force to be reckoned with in
Yep.
Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. He really is. And I realize we're over an hour here, Professor. I hope you listen. I'm going to be like, you want to go back to relevancy? Let's bring it back to. Did we call TBS or TNT? Tony
We're good with that
Khan
stuff.
said he wanted to have overtime, and we're going to have extended time for AEW, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's going to be a big announcement." And they went over to 10:02, and they brought some guy in from India. And don't get me wrong, I love India, although I've never been there. I have a lot of fans from India, so I get it. But so can we get some extended time like they did on AEW? Maybe we can bring in
We got you covered.
have somebody do a run in here on PWZ podcast. Maybe Showtime or the House of Pain could do a run in here on the podcast, or Talking Tommy or Mario himself, or who are the other? I don't know. Maybe who knows? This is live, man. This is live.
We are, in fact, live on Impact. I mean, on StreamYard. Yeah, you made me think Impact.
Did you say
What?
live on Impact?
I did. That was the last thought of my head. Whatever. Let me ask you, what did you think of that whole Samoa Joe segment on AEW last week? I want to ask you that because I thought the whole entire thing fell flat.
Well, if you listen to a lot of different people, it fell flat for a lot of different smarks and marks and dirt sheets. And yeah, it didn't give me the biggest pop. I was disappointed. You do the whole lights off, lights on thing. People want to see Bray Wyatt or somebody big, bring Miro back or something like that. I can't argue with Tony Khan and what he's doing. Go by success, and he's hitting that demographic. But to me personally, they brought this guy in, and I saw him on Rampage. Okay, and how he came out and attacked Jonathan Grisham, and then Samoa Joe came out, or was that Battle of the Belts? I'm not sure. Whatever it was, it might have been
It
either
was one
Battle
of
of
them.
the
It was
Belts.
a very busy week last week. It all melted together.
Professor,
Yeah.
I tape all the shows. I am informed. I put out a product. I watch you guys. You're one of my go-to podcasts. But anyway, he's not as immobile as people think. I thought he was pretty agile for a big man. I don't think he's really going to have an impact. I don't know what they're doing with Joe and him, but it didn't work for me. TK realizes that the sky is green. He admitted it on Busted Open Radio. He said, maybe it didn't really work. And they're doing some things wrong. I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly when I talk about things. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. So for as good as the product is, and it's a much needed viable alternative, WWE, you can see what competition does. They have pushed up their game. The ratings are going up. The storylines are getting a little bit better. Still not a great product. Listen, I don't like a lot of things. I'm not here to bitch about it. I try to stay positive. But he realized he screwed up. But to have the Giant on, look what the audience. If they're entertained by it and the fans respond to it, which they didn't really, it didn't do it for me. But it's great to see Joe, isn't it? I'm not crazy.
Oh yeah.
What did you think of this? Let me ask you this: what did you think of this Suzuki Samoa Joe match? I heard you and Showtime break things down. That's why I wanted to do
Did you
things
hear my
different,
rant?
because I watch you and Showtime, so I know you guys cover the indies, but you go basically to the big companies: WWE, AEW, NWA, Impact, MLW, New Japan, Ring of Honor. I get it, but that's why
we try to cover a little bit of everything each episode,
and that's good. You're putting out a product. But so that's why I wanted to make this show a little bit different. I wanted to make. I'm over talking.
Well, I'm happy because it's I love the area of New England, and I love independent wrestling in New England. So anytime I get a chance to talk about it, it's it makes me extremely happy. But however, that Samoa Joe Minoru Suzuki, that was a match that I was really absolutely looking forward to, and it went about 12 minutes or so, and half the shit was through picture-in-picture. You couldn't even. I hate the picture-in-picture commercial thing. It drives me nuts. It takes away from the match entirely. I would say for the main event, take longer commercial breaks prior to the match starting, so they don't have to do this picture-in-picture stuff.
Well, that's
It's
my
just
biggest complaint, Professor. That's my
it
biggest
takes
complaint.
away, and they do it in just about every main event. And this is a match that a lot of people, including myself, really wanted to see. They did 9,000 fucking chops in that match.
Well, I'm glad that you said that because I like getting your feedback on this. Again, I feel like we're sitting down in a diner having the happy waitress. Uh, I don't grilled cheese and tomato. You know what that is. Here's what I see. AEW's putting out a good product, and what
Yeah.
Suzuki and Samoa Joe did. It's old school Japanese wrestling. You're not going to do a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Suzuki's smaller. He's older. It's chop, 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 chop. Joe was turning pink. You're challenging the other guy. In what street fight or sports competition are you challenging somebody else to hit you or compete against you? You're trying to gain every advantage. So that stuff may work over Konnichiwa bitches over there in the land of the rising sun. And I can appreciate strong style. It was solid for me. I covered it, but let's get away and use Joe a proper way. And now you're putting Joe in a storyline with the giant El Gigante, if you will, Singh. And I get it because of the India population. They're trying to get over there. I understand.
That has to do with the Time Warner Discovery
Correct. TV deals. It's
merger. So
follow the
they're
money.
trying to
Of course.
break into the Indian market, and and the guy is a legit superstar over there.
Well,
As the
the
first
great
Indian to
Khali,
get drafted.
they
Yep.
worship the ground that guy walks on over there in India, the great Khali. And let's face it, I mean, he was a big guy, but he was no good grappler. They had
No.
Tiger Jeet Singh at one time, and they had some. Was Rico Dazan out of there, or was that Korea? Where was Rico
He
Dazan out of?
was
Japan, India,
he was from
Rico
in
Dozan,
he wrestled in
Ishiwa.
Japan, but he was I believe that he was Korean, but he was wrestled in Japan. Yeah. He's
That's
yep.
one place I never had a chance to go to. Was Japan. The culture and the wrestling over there is great, and that works over there. I'm a big New Japan follower, and I was a big fan of Giant Baba and Antonio Noki and all Japan and stuff over there. I really was, even back in the days
I'd go
when you had
there,
to
yeah, and I
trade
would.
tapes. But with that
Same
with
here. I
that
used to
being,
get the Japanese tapes from George Mayfield. Do you remember that name?
you know what? My mind is like a lazy Susan. It'll come back around.
He was like the Japanese specialist when it came to tape trading. He would go out there like once or twice a year, go to events and come back with a shit ton of tapes and sell them on his the
Well,
catalog or
everybody
whatnot.
I know
Anyways, we're
wants
getting
to.
off subject. Yeah,
Well,
we're getting off subject.
so with that being said, and now Joe's on to this. Let's see what happens. I've watched all the shows as you have because I heard you and Showtime talk about them. Raw and SmackDown, not as much, but I'm getting more into it because you have to provide content and information, so you have to
Yeah,
stay on top of it. And again, I've been a fan of Smark or Mark, whatever you want to call it, for over 50 years. I've been in this business as a pro wrestling manager for over 3 decades. I do this as a stress reliever and try to push out product and to interact with people and to give back. And we have a lot of fun with it. We talk about this personally all the time, besides being here on your show. Uh, this is what we do, and it's a lot of fun. And we can talk about history. We can do all kinds of different things. And in this day and age, and in this world, in all honesty, this is what we need. With not only do we do we have to pray to the big man, but this is what we need to give back for entertainment and to provide a distraction for not only us but for the fans. And it's good sports entertainment along with the physicality and the emotional investment. And again, I'll say it. I'm rambling. No better time to be in the business.
there's no better time to be a fan. All the options, and I think I brought this up. Was it yesterday or maybe last week that if you remember prior to the pandemic, the independents were exploding legitimately. You could watch any now, seeing that since the pandemic, and now I guess we're living in a sort of post-pandemic world. There's wrestling on just about
I don't know about
every.
that. I don't know. It'll never be
Sort of.
post.
sort of. No, I didn't
This
say
is never
entirely.
going away.
Yeah, I don't
Let's not get
entirely
into that.
believe
It's
so
another
either.
story for another time.
It's another
This
podcast.
isn't going away.
It's one of those things where there's just, you know, there's just so much wrestling now, and there was since the pandemic started. There's always been more and more online content, and it just seems to be more and more people producing more and more uh, content, and it's just freaking amazing to think about. There's so much wrestling out there today. You can literally watch wrestling anytime, any day.
Well, let's seeing that we're bouncing all over the place here on the PWZ. Monday nights you have a 3-hour show in Raw. Tuesday
That's
nights
yeah,
you have NXT. Wednesday night, and now don't forget also on Monday and Tuesdays, if you go to YouTube, you have AEW Dark Elevation. You have
the NWA is
NWA.
on. Yep.
The NWA is on at 6:05. Is it, or is it 8
Yes,
o'clock on Tuesdays?
2 o'clock on Tuesdays.
It's on at
I
two
named
o'clock.
6 o'clock on Tuesdays. What the hell am I saying? I'm sorry, I got
See,
confused.
and you talk about me, a professor. This is what you get when you go
I
live.
know.
This is why I like being
Now
live. You never know what's going to happen.
I got a
Right. So you
question
have the
here.
NWA, we have the NXT, the AEW shows we're talking about, WWE. Wednesday nights is Dynamite. Thursday nights is MLW and Impact. Am I correct?
Yeah, but you also have yeah, but go ahead, keep going, and then
New Japan is on Friday nights and SmackDown and Rampage.
yeah, and then not to mention, you got to think about anything that's streaming as well, such as anything on IWTV. They have multiple shows
Right.
on, say,
I'm
Tuesday. They have, I mean, I know they're a little bit low. I don't want to say lower,
Rick,
but
Professor, if you
you
will.
get what I'm saying. GCW, Mickey Biggs, yeah, GCW is putting on multiple shows every weekend.
But GC,
Yeah,
listen, let me tell you something about. I'm glad Mickey's still here. I appreciate you being here, Mickey. Let me just tell you something and butt in here, be a Budinsky. Uh, remember that word, Budinsky?
yeah.
GCW is great quality talent, but they are, and this is just my opinion. I'm telling you that the organizations that I believe are a cut above storyline wise, booking wise, exposure wise, talent wise. And I'm going to say WWE, AEW, uh, Impact, MLW, the NWA, depending on what TK does with Ring of Honor, we'll throw in NXT, New Japan. You throw in those, I already said NWA and Impact, and you throw in those top half dozen to 8 organizations, in my opinion. This is just me. Combining my old school style with my new school thoughts and being able to adapt to all this, although I'm not happy about it. I don't want to be Jim Cornette. Those are the top groups. You tell me. I listen to Cornette all the time. I don't agree with his politics because he's an asshole. Well, I'm just telling it like it is.
I'm not going to bring up. I don't bring up politics here, but
Politics, we don't bring up politics. Minimal politics, minimal religion, and we keep it at sports entertainment.
keep
You tell
exactly.
me, and put this out there in the chat, Professor. You give me your top half dozen or maybe 8 organizations, and I'll put GCWs in the top 10 in the
I
country,
think
in the world. And I don't want to bring in AAA and CMLL and Crash and Noah. I'm not going to bring in those. I'm going to bring them. Give me your top half dozen, if you will. I feel like I'm running an interview here. It's always happens.
no, you're good. No, you're good, man, because that's what being a part of this show is about. So
Let's
I'm
have a
going to go
conversation, man.
exactly, man. So my personal favorite half a dozen programs.
No, give me your top organ. Listen, we're in 2022 here.
Yeah.
A homeboy, home piece, home divot, home jacket, home slice, if you will.
All right, so
Give
I'm going to go.
me your top promotions right now.
My top promotions, as far as all right, hold on. Before I get into that, are you talking about on a
Take
professional
your
level,
time. It's your show. It's your
professional
show. Take
level,
your time.
monetary level, or just my personal favorites? As far as that
Well,
goes.
you can give me like I did. Those are my personal favorites, and what I think you can go by monetary. You can bring in all of the above. I'll give you a multiple choice. You can go by your personal favorites and combine it with exposure, combine it with talent, as I said, combine it with who they are currently, what their booking is. Yeah, you tell
I'm
me.
gonna go presently right now. I'd have to say my number one, and this is only just because they're producing a viable alternative. They have an amazing roster. They're not always something to agree with, as you'll hear me say anytime they do anything bad, just like the other guys. I'm gonna have to go with AEW. They're,
Okay.
they put a
Well,
viable
hey,
alternative.
listen, hey kid, I'm with you right now. I'm with you.
They are doing something a little bit fresh. They're doing something a little bit different. I have a feeling they're doing a little bit too much. That's going to end up turning around and bite them in the ass if they don't get if he doesn't stop complaining about bots and such. So, uh, so, so there's that. I really appreciate the NWA. I really do. I've been a lifelong NWA fan from the Crockett era, the Territory era, to now,
It's
the
just tough
Corgan
to
era.
always find. It's almost like you
Yes,
have to get a poster board and put up, on a calendar on what nights, which different organization is out there in those top half dozen, eight.
if
And
I
if you're
can't
like
tell
you,
you
who
that,
consumes, right?
yeah, I mean,
It's
let me
tough to
tell you
find. I
honestly,
listen. I'm a big fan of NWA, but it's not about what I thought. Tell me to be
no, but
quiet.
I mean, I followed through them through the independent era as well in the '90s and
I
earlier
worked for them.
2000s. Yeah, absolutely. As well did my NWA spotlight partner Mickey Biggs at times.
Yes, Mickey
Um,
did.
and I'd have to go for the NWA, and then honestly, geez, I'd have to go. GCW's got to be up there. They're putting on consistently good shows. They bring in some decent talent. Uh, I do question some of the stories that they do or some of this, but
They have.
I
I
can't
feel
say
like
that they're
listen,
putting on fun shows.
and I'm interrupting because we're getting feedback. We're bantering. We're having a conversation. So before anyone
Yep.
steps on me, oh, let them talk. You're cutting them off. This is called bantering. This is called debating. Tell me what. Listen, GCW is a great alternative product, and I told you they're in
Yeah.
my top. They're in my top 8 or 10. A lot of people would come at me at the internet marks, the trolls, if you will. I don't really care about that. Tell me why they're your number 3, and I want to hear what you like about their. Listen, I
I'm
feel
going to tell you.
GCW
Okay.
has an agenda. I feel they have an agenda just by
They
some of
might
the.
not have they don't have a weekly television series. That's one thing. So every show they put on is an event, okay? There's a variety on each show. Now I'm not necessarily a deathmatch guy, but they always build a huge matchup around something to that effect. You know what I mean? Like it might not always happen every show, but they just have a variety. I mean, look who happened. Just a month ago, 2 months ago, Jeff Jarrett wrestled Effie. Okay, now X Pac's going to be involved in a match with Joey Janela. They have a variety. The
Well,
Briscoes were
I
there.
saw the Briscoes on there. Listen, when they came to
Yeah,
the Hammerstein Ballroom, so I'll
yeah.
agree with you. When they came to the Hammerstein Ballroom, they were in New York. I watched that pay-per-view event, and there was a lot of good talent. There's no two ways about it. And some of the guys you're talking about, but me personally, the owner, when he comes out, and people could say this about Tony Khan as well. They could say this about Vince McMahon. You could say it about Court Bauer. You could say it about Scott D'Amore. You could say it about Billy Corgan. They feel like I feel like they have an agenda, and it's not just a professional wrestling agenda. It's more like a social agenda, and people accuse AEW of that. When you start getting into quotas and trying to please everybody, and maybe I'm sounding like Jim Cornette right now, and you're pushing certain things, I don't necessarily agree with that. And I get if you don't like it, change the channel. I get that it's PG-13. I get the ECW, XPW era, the Attitude era. But when you're really pushing certain things and it's sports entertainment, maybe I should lighten up a little bit. When you have an agenda and you push it out there, and I hear some of the things and see some of the things, I, it doesn't wash with a guy like me. GCW
Right.
is great, but
Like I said, it's just they put on a good
I asked
variety,
you.
and no, they put on a good variety. Some they bring back some guys that I grew up with or guys that I grew up watching. I guess I shouldn't say guys that I grew up with because a lot of those guys are old and dead, but guys that I watched in the 90s, I should say, or 2000s. And then they just bring in, they just bring in a lot of guys. Tian Couponer has a question here. Would you compare GCW to ECW back in the day? I'd have to say yes in a way. I do compare that to that. It's a little bit different at times though. Sometimes GCW goes a little bit more extreme with the more so the death matches and such. Guys like Nick Gage and things like that. Sometimes a little too crazy for my taste.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this. The boys here. Let me say this. GCW, good product. Okay.
Yeah.
But they can't carry ECW's fucking jockstrap.
No.
That's almost an insult. Listen, I get it. You'll say, "Oh, Chaos, you made your debut in '91. You tried your training back in the '80s." Listen, I'm old school. I get it, and I appreciate everything in this current 2022 climate. You know that, and I consume it all. And GCW couldn't carry ECW's jock.
No, I think they have yeah. I don't know how long they'll be around. I think that they put on good shows. Sometimes they do what was it during WrestleMania weekend? They put on something like 10 shows. They had the collective. So I mean, they're doing something.
They're doing something right. Look at the attendance.
Yeah.
Look at the fans. You can't
Yep.
argue with GCW's results or their
Yep.
talent. I don't want to
Yep.
come off that way. I really don't. So you went with AEW, the NWA, and GCW so far. See, my mind's not that bad. I know we're coming up on an hour and a
I still
half,
have a
and
few
no
more.
one's going to
It's
watch
okay.
this.
We'll shut this off when we when the lights go out, I guess. Let's see.
Well, who's going to come back? Is it going to be the House of Black, Malachi Black, and Brody King, or is it going to be the rated R superstar Edge and Damian Priest and what they're
We'll
trying to
talk
do in the
about that.
WWE when the lights go out, or will it be Wyndham Rotunda returning back soon? Yeah, who
We'll
knows
see
why
about
the
that.
lights are going out here at PWZ?
Before we get to my other two, Mickey Biggs does have a
Right,
comment.
because you gave 3. Let's go. Let's
Yep.
come on. I
He
keep
says
cutting you off.
He said Balls Mahoney would have been a great fit for GCW. I've seen Balls a lot post his ECW days, and yeah, he still worked pretty rough style. You know what I mean? He did a lot of. I think he would have been a very good fit for GCW.
Balls not only an unbelievable talent who worked from everyone from WWE, WCW to ECW, the NWA territories. He
Smoky
was a good
Mountain.
person. I had a chance to work with Balls in a couple of different events, and Biggs is right. Balls was a solid talent, solid person. In my opinion, my interactions were great. And yeah, he would fit right into GCW. A lot of those guys would. And I know the current product like to compare ECW and GCW. There's some similarities. In all honesty, there is some similarities. Listen,
Right.
I have an 18-pound Sphinx lynx over here. You saw me pick him up. I got to. That's why I'm distracted here. But go ahead, Professor. Who else you
So
got?
I'd have to say right now, currently, Impact Wrestling is a completely underrated organization.
Have you seen the ratings? Nobody's watching, bro. They
No,
have
they
under
haven't for years.
100,000,
They haven't for years. Nobody's watching.
like
And
60,000.
yeah,
60,000 people are watching that. But let me say this,
well, don't
and
forget they were giving their product away for free for many years. When they lost, they went from they go from Spike TV, then they went to Pop TV. Who the hell even had that channel? That was the former Weather Channel. They converted into a regular channel that played soap operas 90% of the day, and then Impact at night. And then when they lost that deal, when that expired, they ended up being put. They you couldn't even find them. Whatever that hunting channel that is owned by the Anthem or whatever uh, and then nobody had them. When they couldn't get the channel, they gave the product away for free on Twitch for probably 2-3 years.
it really is a crime, Professor, because
Yeah,
Impact has some incredible talent and they come up with some decent storylines. I mean, we could do a whole show just on Impact. And if you look at the rankings, WWE is coming back in the ratings. Not that means everything. AEW is holding strong in their ratings. In New Japan, not really getting a lot of viewers. Impact getting not a lot of viewers. I feel like some of the YouTube channels from MLW to the NWA to even the AEW shows are getting better rankings. And you know who's surprisingly holding tough is NXT is surprisingly
Yeah.
holding tough with their ratings. Again, it really is something.
And I got to go with my was that fifth or sixth? Either way,
I believe you went. Here's what you started off with: AEW, went to the NWA, you went to GCW,
Impact
you
is
went to
4.
Impact as your 4. I don't think you've given me a 5 yet. Look at
Fifth is
this shirt
definitely.
was a 4X. This used to be a.
I'm in that level. I'm in that level. I'll just say.
Yeah, but I'm down to a 2X now. I'm down to a 2X.
Congratulations. I need to start getting back down there.
Yeah, but you know what Bull Dread said last night, and I keep cutting you off here. He said the Panzone, the Labans. Listen, I was 330 pounds in my heyday working with all those guys. I'm down to about 2.25 right now, maybe
Oh
two
my
and a
God.
quarter, 228.
Congratulations. That's awesome. That's amazing.
You sit down, you know what happens here. I don't have the high tech that you have. That's why the Chaos Corner and on my channel, it's truly reality TV, a reality show more than a podcast. You don't get anything like that, Professor. But go ahead, continue, my friend. We could do this
I
all night.
believe
This could be a 3-hour show.
Hey, you're not going to be like the Metal Maniac that kept me for almost 4 hours, are you?
Yeah, I get that, but I don't know. Were you guys having a conversation that we have that flow like this, and someone that goes, "Well,
Right.
yeah, maybe you were."
He talked about Jimmy Snuka for 4 hours. Let's just say that.
I don't like
And that
talking
is,
about myself. I don't like that.
yeah.
I'm humble.
We with that episode just went up actually as a retro episode because I was using a different server at the time. So anybody that wants to listen to the Metal Maniac talk about Jimmy Snuka for 4 hours, go ahead and check it out.
Listen, I'm going to say that to say this. Jeff Miller is a longtime friend of mine. We go back like 8 tracks. We go back like a recliner. He's over there in Hawaii. So pehe aoi melihini kane, pupule wiki wiki. Mahalo, brother. Metal Maniac made his niche in this business, right, wrong, or indifferent. I'll give him a lot of credit, man. He's been around, and I consider Jeff, a great guy, man. And again,
He's a great
still
guy.
in good shape for his age. Maniac's a talker, though. He's like me as far as talking goes.
The first time I saw him, I think he was for Tommy Jeanette's Northeast Championship Wrestling at the North Haven Fair. Do you remember them?
Yes, I worked those shows. I worked for Tommy Jeanette at the North Haven Fair. A couple of different shows and events that I did at the North Haven Fair. I was lucky enough to work with Sergeant Slaughter, myself and Zombie against Slaughter at the North Haven Fair. I did many of an events back to when we had Johnny Rods and Greg the Hammer Valentine and Coco Beware. We're talking back when Tommy Jeanette was running the North Haven Fair in the 90s. So yeah,
I don't remember.
Those were a lot of fun.
I don't remember when he stopped working there, but I remember the first show was that I remember was Greg Valentine, Demolition Axe in the main event. Little Guido was there before he became Little Guido years before. If you remember WWE enhancement talent, gorgeous Chris Duffy, he was there.
Of course,
Bert
yes,
Centeno.
that's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
North
A
Haven
lot of
Fair,
guys.
you speak of the Constitution State, the Nutmeg State, if you will, and you talk about all the different organizations and the rich history. We could do a 2-hour show, a 10-hour show, a mini-series on the history just in this state. The North Haven Fair, I believe, has been running for well over 75 years. Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling ran the 75th anniversary at the North Haven Fair, the legendary North Haven Fair. And the history and tradition of wrestling from Tom Jeanette to Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling to Michael Lombardi, who's connected with all the big stars that have run at the North Haven Fair. And I know there's a couple that I missed. And you go back to when, Dusty Rhodes played semi-pro football here in Hartford. There's look at the people. That's another story for another time that I'd like to get into. And that's why I wanted to was hoping to make this show and our conversation a little bit different than what you're putting out there right now.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So I'm going to go with my number 5. My number 5 is MLW. I think they have an amazing product right now. If anything reminds me of older ECW, it's going to be that in a way, maybe just the aura, not necessarily the actual in-ring action, just the feel of it. They have a great product. You have Alexander Hammerstone as their champion. You've got Alex Kane as the open weight champion, who I interviewed right after he won that belt. So
I
he is
saw
an
that
amazingly
conversation.
nice
You
guy.
don't do
Yeah.
interviews, Professor. You do conversations.
Yeah.
Just my
Well,
opinion.
trying to make him a little bit more relaxed, I guess,
Yeah, absolutely. You
Uh
certainly do it to me.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm trying to think that MLW is definitely up there for me. It's one of my favorite promotions that's on TV right now. And then
Well,
I
let's
mean,
briefly look at the roster. I agree with that. So you started off with AEW. You went to the NWA. You went to GCW. You went to Impact, I believe, and now you're at MLW. MLW with Richard Holiday and Alicia Atu, the power couple right now. I could compare it to Sammy and Tay, for Christ's sakes. Although, and I didn't mean to say that, but Holiday and Atu are much better looking. You look at Hammerstone. Alex Hammerstone, to me, is one of the best grapplers out there right now. He's in incredible
absolutely.
shape. You look at the Von Erichs that are still in MLW, an unbelievable legacy and tag team, and Jacob Fatu and Contra. MLW puts out an excellent product. Again, with a lot of these different groups, whether it be Impact and MLW and the NWA, it's on YouTube, and a lot of people, I love YouTube, and I'm on there to consume that. It's too bad that they're not getting on an easier platform for the regular fan to interact with instead of students, researchers, historians like you and I. As
Right.
someone who's been in the business as well, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Solid
Yeah, man.
organizations. You and I have
I
agreed
think
on everything thus far in
yeah.
these groups, with the exception of GCW. Give me your thoughts
I mean,
on
it's just a
the
personal. It's
future
just a.
of Ring of Honor?
Well, that's a good question because there is a comment here in the chat about that. Let me find it here, and I will post it. Oops. Hang on. Let's see who it was that asked it. Let's see.
Oh, again, I'm not responsible for my behavior on the PWZ tonight.
Oh, yeah.
The level of
It's all right. I'm drunk half the time when I do the show. So,
the level
let's,
here is probably at about a 6, and we
let's see.
what happens. But I feel good though. I can't complain. I'm blessed, Professor.
Somebody asked. I'm sorry if I missed it here. Somebody asked if it's what do I think about them doing a developmental. Yes, I think that it's going to be yes. For AEW, what do I think of it being in a thought for AEW? Excuse me, a developmental for AEW. I think it's. I'm excited. What do I think about the future of AEW? Man, it's a little bit different. It's 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 still too early to tell. Okay, what's going to happen with excuse me, our Ring of Honor. I'm sorry, I said AEW. Um, it's still too early to tell. I know this going along with this comment, the TN Couponer says, "Here's that Ring of Honor aired the last episode on Sinclair this past weekend." Yeah, that is. It was a best of episode, which had probably matches from different years and stuff. Probably like 5, 6 matches going back from even the earliest days. So they're done with Sinclair networks altogether. I think that Tony Khan's is still figuring it out. It's all going to be AEW contracted talent, basically, from what I understand. So he's just going to, anybody that's there working, he's just going to hold Ring of Honor shows. That's the way that it sounds.
Well, I couldn't see it, Professor, and that's a valid observation. We're not sure. Again, TK is supposed to have a huge announcement tomorrow night. We'll both be covering it, I'm sure. Who knows what's going to
Yes.
happen? He keeps trying to outdo himself, and like you said, who knows if they're going to burn themselves out with different storylines. But Ring of Honor, to me, with the talent, and you look what they're trying to do here, they're trying to merge the two different groups, and it's kind of get confusing. You're running a Ring of Honor talent on an AEW show and vice versa, but more Ring of Honor on AEW. Guys like Jonathan Grisham, and you have Joe holding a title, and the different talent that they're going to be bringing in for Ring of Honor. Jay Lethal and his who's the gentleman that he's with? How did I forget his name?
Sanjay Dutt.
Sanjay Dutt. Again,
Yeah.
you see the Ring of Honor connection there, and the former AEW guys that work for Ring of Honor, and they're doing the whole handshake. So I don't see it being a feeder system or a so-called like what NXT has turned into with the WWE with Raw
Right.
and SmackDown, as far as like a developmental a la OVW or the old Smoky Mountain or something like that. I don't see that because the talent is just too good. I see remember AEW has Dark and Elevation where, they're putting out all kinds of whatever talent you want to call it, mid-level talent, opening match talent, main event talent. So it's good for all the talent, but I don't see Ring of Honor. When you have Dark and Elevation and even Rampage, where does that rank with what Ring of Honor is going to do as far as the
Right.
hierarchy? We know where the WWE is. For years it was Raw, then SmackDown, then NXT. Then it turned
Hmm.
around, and some arguably could say that NXT was the number one product at one point there, and then it was Raw and SmackDown. Some could say right now that SmackDown is the number one product, then Raw, then NXT, in the hierarchy as we move on here. What do you think the hierarchy is in AEW? You start with Dynamite. What's number two? Rampage. What would be number three? Ring of Honor. Then you go to Dark and Elevation. It's like a baseball system, an A level, a triple A, a double A. What are your thoughts on that, Professor,
My
if
thing
you
is,
will?
are they gonna do away with one of the darks, darker elevation, and then maybe do the TV tapings at Universal Studios for Ring of Honor, change one of their YouTube series into the Ring of Honor series, or just add a Ring of Honor series to the uh thing entirely into the lineup at all. Maybe make it another YouTube series, or are they going to start a streaming network? There's all these talks about HBO Max. There's all this talk about the Time Warner thing, or the merger and stuff. So exactly, we don't know what's going to happen. There's this huge announcement coming tomorrow night. Marcel and I are going to cover it on Thursday evening. Um, so God only knows what's going to happen with Ring of Honor. Is there
Well,
going to
you're
be
right
one
about
hour
that.
television show?
You're right about that.
So
God only knows. But look what the WWE did, and AEW's catching on as a 3-year organization compared to the Super Machine. WWE with Fox and NBC Universal and the peacock, the peacock, and then throw in the 10-year deal with over there in Saudi. Look at what's happening there, and even through the pandemic, and even when the product and the booking and the story writing is terrible, and the ratings, they're still bringing in money, my friend. They're still
yeah,
bringing in a lot of money. So AEW is doing the same thing here with Universal and TBS, TNT, and you hear rumors of who's going to be taking over. Who knows what channels they're going to end up on and where they're going to start putting their content with AEW. That's why, to me, and then throwing Ring of Honor into the mix, look at all the other companies, the viable alternatives. And I'm talking about, in specific, the NWA, Impact, and MLW. Where are they going to lie in competing with WWE in their levels of sports entertainment, pro wrestling, what AEW has purchased and what they do on the YouTube series, and now with the Ring of Honor and all these big deals, because it's all about the money and exposure. And I've said that. What happens to those groups? And again, what is the hierarchy in AEW? It's a lot to be talking about. We can do a 10-hour podcast on that, Professor.
TN Couponer says, could AEW or ROH be on TBS on Saturdays at 6:05 p.m.? Just like the old days, I used to live for those days at 6:05. I'd watch that, then watch an Atlanta Braves game right after. Um, so my
That's a
thing
great
is,
question.
it
That's
is,
a great question, because you know why? We know TK is like us in a lot of ways. Although
yes,
he's in the business as a booker, he's
I
a
think he's,
fan. So
yes.
he's very connected with the history of pro wrestling. So to put it on 6:05, that was a great question. I think that would be something that would be going back to tradition that Tony
It,
Khan might perceive. Again, you wonder about where they're going to put everybody in the hierarchy. That's what I'm interested in seeing moving forward, Professor. But yeah, nice engagement there
I
on the
would
chat.
like to, I would like to see something like that, but I'm like, at the same time, I'm sitting here like things are different. It's a different time period. Are people still home at 6 o'clock on Saturday evenings? I
Well,
mean, people of our age are. That they'd probably nail that demographic, correct? You know what I mean? If we're not going
you're
to a show.
probably right. Maybe not so much with certain. It depends on how you live your lifestyle and the current situation of the world. I would like to see, believe it or not, a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning from one of these bigger companies and putting on an hour or an hour and a half show or whatever it is you want to do. I would like to see, and listen, I get it, where it's flooded, whether it be the podcast, the IWC, the wrestling in general and on TV. It can be flooded if you want to find it out between YouTube and what's the big networks. But I would like to see old school back to a Saturday morning. We're talking old school, a Saturday night, 6:05. Put
Yeah,
on something
I
on a
think
Saturday morning, a Sunday morning,
more
10
people
o'clock,
are apt to
10
watch
o'clock,
stuff probably Saturday mornings, like you said, 10 o'clock. Um, I know,
9,
you know,
9:30,
I
10 o'clock, man. I used to
I
love
do
that.
sit there. Yeah, well, I used to wake up every morning, watch NWA Power Hour at 9 o'clock, and sit. Well, obviously before then, I didn't drink coffee back then, but you know, and then right
Well,
from
the
there at 10 o'clock.
WWE even had an 11 o'clock show.
Yeah,
They
well,
had,
then at
whether
ten
it was,
o'clock. Sorry, go ahead. I
no,
think
no,
they would
I'm,
go
I'm sorry. Hey,
from.
listen, we could do this all night.
Yeah, I think they went to Superstars of Wrestling at like 10 o'clock or something to that effect. Sometimes you'd be able to catch something else like All American Wrestling at like 11 on USA or something to that effect.
See, I like that. As a younger wrestling fan back then, because you got to remember something through the whole. I enjoyed those Saturday morning and mid
Absolutely.
morning, and I think they're missing a boat on that. You got to remember something too as we're bouncing around here. Hopefully, we won't go extended like TK on AEW. You got to remember something. In the 90s, I'm a little older than you, Professor. I am the old man brand, the over 50 demo god. In the 90s, during the Attitude Era, where everyone was idolizing all these guys from Stone Cold and all that, I was already in the business. So it makes my perspective a little bit different. No better, just a little bit different. I was in my 30s. So I see things a little bit differently than people who were influenced that were in their late teens or their early 20s or middle 20s at that point when they were consuming the product, and to live through that. I saw it a little bit differently. And again, no better, just a different perspective, because I can appreciate everyone's respective perspective.
A lot of those Saturday and Sunday morning TV shows by WWF and WWE got either shortened or they became highlight shows with maybe one exclusive match. If you think about it, just you know, there was they turned basically Superstars was a highlight show entirely, then they turned it into basically Shotgun, which would have just a couple matches and then highlights from Monday Night Raw. You get what I'm saying here? So it didn't
Yeah,
have the
I
same
wouldn't
feel
even mind a
because
Saturday night's main event every now and then. Put it out there. I mean, is it too much for the fans? Is it too much to consume? But again, I like that traditional. And I have to tell you, I really don't like the Sunday night events anymore, the pay-per-views. I
I'm
really don't.
too old for that. I'm too
Well,
old
it's
for
not
that.
that. I like the change. I like to listen. In wrestling nowadays, people are
Saturday,
holding live events on Wednesdays, Thursdays. It really doesn't matter. But Sundays, if you're going to do it, I'd like to see a mid-afternoon show on a Sunday,
yeah.
an early Sunday evening.
I think because I work Monday mornings, I got to be up very early. I'm going back to the office in just a couple months. Sunday nights take a toll on me. You know what I mean? Day ending. Then I usually go live right after. So it does take a toll on me. I'm really, so I'm happy that things started getting moved to Saturdays. However, that means sometimes they end up an hour later. They don't end until midnight. So, which I've experienced with some WWE and AEW shows recently. So sometimes it does make it rough. But I don't
Well,
mind the afternoon shows. I don't mind at all, man. I haven't seen an afternoon show in a long time. Mike Canada, Mr. Trivia, thank you for tuning in. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Mr. Trivia. You know what the bottom line is, Professor. Whether it's someone like Mr. Trivia or yourself or me or the different people that do this, even talking Tommy and that younger demographic, or even some of the older guys and Mikey Biggs, whatever. We're here out of passion, dedication, love of the game, and you can feel it come across, and we're relatable, and we just don't cycle babble, although we have a lot of fun, and we connected here for the first time in a while, and it's been a lot of fun. But this is what you get on these shows and your channels. It's dedication, it's passion, uh, like none other. And this is what the business does and what it's all about. And there's no better time. And once you get in it, you get hooked into it, and you realize the emotional investment, the storytelling, the physicality. Uh, you realize that everyone can't do this, how it affects your family, being on the road or just covering it now in the IWC, if you will, as someone. It really is. People talk about scripted, and I hear people talk about this, and I gave it up in my teen years or in my 20s, or you grow out of it, or grown men. And it's reaches every generation. There's no off season. There's nothing like it. Yes, it's a predetermined outcome, but it's an event. You have to be a stunt man. It's like going to a musical. It's like going to a Broadway play. It's like watching a movie or TV series or a soap opera. This is what you get in professional wrestling. It really is like none other. I say it to people all the time, and I've been involved in every industry. So this is what you get in podcasts and shows like this, and people can understand the passion and dedication of what we try to put out here, man. It really is something to be proud of, in my opinion, no matter what anyone says.
Mickey Big says the Rock and Wrestling Connection was the best era. LOL. I think that was a phenomenal era. That's when I discovered it in 1984. So I'm going on just about 40 years of watching professional wrestling. It opened me up to a lot, and just a couple years later, I was exposed to things like the NWA, AWA, and World Class. And that's where, like,
great organizations,
yeah,
especially
at
in
my,
the 80s, 70s,
yeah,
and 80s.
yeah. And then it just took a different toll from right there, You have a comment here from Adonis, so we can get him out of here. Hang on, let's see.
Adonis, good man.
Come back to
to
PAPW.
PAPW.
Yep.
I could actually see that. You know what screws me up on here? You're gonna laugh. I tell my wife all the time, these effing, and I can't swear. My granddaughter's gonna end up being a millionaire. These bifocals, Professor.
I
I
had to
use
take my
these for
glasses
for
off.
my
Yeah.
long-term driving. When I read a script, or if I'm reading the Complete Idiot's Guide to Pro Wrestling, I take my glasses off. So again, it really does screw up. And don't fear, fans. I will be back at my home at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. There's big things coming up at PAPW. Oh, how could I not? And of course, Professor, what you're doing for PAPW, and then what you guys are providing here on PWZ, kudos, my friend. It's a lot of hard work. People don't appreciate the hustle and the grind. One thing about guys like you and I say this on my show all the time, we are not asking for anything. We're
No.
putting this stuff out there for free out of love and passion and dedication. Back to my point, we're not on a paywall. We're not asking for super chats, and no one's Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, all that shit. We're not here to try to make a living, or the 3 cents that you make on YouTube. I mean, you literally got to jerk off the dog to feed the cat. Wait.
Oh my God! Look who it is. Kevin Saban is in the chat. Hello, Kevin. PAPW is
Hey,
the home base. Thank you for tuning in, my man.
the Saban Tooth Tiger, aka the Enforcer. Kevin Saban. Let me tell you something about Kevin Saban and the whole Saban family. Unbelievable people, salt of the earth. We know
Great
that.
family. Everybody very nice. Yep.
Kevin Saban was my former broadcast partner. We did a couple of events together at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. You know that their lovely daughter, Juliana, aka Lavinia, at one time was training and actually was in the ring. It was an incredible match with Sergeant Murray and herself, and she's making a comeback, I hear. An unbelievable, brilliant lady who has the brightest future. And then you throw in talking Tommy Saban, who is not only going to be a baseball legend a la Bob Uecker. I can't wait to find out and listen to him. But his work in broadcasting and what he's doing at Paradise Alley, they were raised the right way. This is what America's all about. And the Sabans are very bright. And and have a future that's limitless. Talk about living the American dream. That's what it is right there. And let me tell you something about Kevin Saban. We were there live when he got into the ring with Mario Mancini as the
Yes, sir.
enforcer and laid the smackdown all over Mancini. A priceless moment at Paradise Alley.
That was a lot of fun, indeed. Glad to see you are here.
Hey, listen, I think we're at a minute 55. Maybe we can go
Yeah,
right to about 159. Keep it at 2 fucking hours and
I'll
we'll cut
stay
this
here all
off.
night. That's right.
So you know what we got to do one day, Professor? And I would love to do it with a round table, no matter who you wanted to bring on, whether it
Absolutely.
be Mickey Biggs, Showtime, Marcel Williams, the House of Pain, Mario Mancini himself, whoever the guests would be. And I wonder what it would be like back to the days of the 90s. And I remember that's when I was a pro wrestling manager. I made my debut in 91. I used to wear face paint out of the Road Warriors, one of the only pro wrestling managers that ever did something like that. Do you remember WCW Saturday night when they did it all night? It was like an 18-hour, 24-hour marathon or a whole weekend. Could you imagine doing a round table or show or bringing in certain people to hand off a la Jerry Lewis telethon or something like that in pro wrestling? And could you imagine going 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16, 24 hours for like a charity or something like that and rotate people? Because I'm telling you one thing, I may not be on the level of a lot of other people, but I could do it. And I think we could do it. You ought to think about that. Something that no one's ever done in this community, like the live to tape concept that I do, reality. And we'll make it a charity, man. We'll try to do. What do you think?
I'm
Something to
down.
think about in the future. If we're still here, Planet X, biblical prophecy,
Let's just do a
food
whole,
supply,
yeah.
famine, war. Holy crap,
Concentrate on the
nuclear.
round table. I'm down for that for the whole time. Um, yeah. Kevin Saban says that was the worst clothesline in the history of pro wrestling. Kevin, I've seen worse, man. I've been watching wrestling a very long
Hey,
time.
what social media platforms are we on tonight besides YouTube?
We are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Wow, what a
Yes.
night for my return after a couple of months off of
I
social
mean, this has
media.
been one of the most active chats we've had so far. So that's people are here to see the Guardian of Chaos.
Well, again, this is fun. I've been around a long time, and we have a lot of fun. I can cover everything. Again, I like to do things for charity. I like to give back. I like to consider myself a carpenter. Uh, you know, and a lot of people doing a lot of good things. It doesn't get any better than this, Professor. So, what do you want to wrap it up with? Again, big shout out and love to everyone. Stay close to your family and friends. Be an independent, critical thinker. Be right, and everything's going to be okay, man. We're all going to be okay.
What do we want to wrap it up with? Basically, we just do this for fun, for our love of professional wrestling. There's so much to enjoy in the world of professional wrestling these days. It's hard to get to it all. It really is.
It really is. That's why these
It really is.
podcasts go on and on and on.
I mean, this is the longest show I've done in many, many times. Oh, you got a nice little comment here. Shout out to the GOC. Thanks for the shout out from Adonis. Okay, thank you, Adonis, for tuning in again. I have
Speaking of
unblocked you.
Adonis, because we can go on forever.
Oh,
Purdy
Lord, here we
Curdy
go.
Adonis is the last Adonis. Adorable Adrian Adonis, Purdy Curdy Adonis, local legend who inducted me into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Who else? Who else are the Adonises? And there was another Adonis that was Brian. No, that was Brian Adias. What other Adonises were in pro wrestling? Adorable Adrian, Purdy
That's a good
Curdy.
question. I know you've got some names here. I'm trying to think offhand. Adrian Adonis, Purdy Curdy, who
Well, Adrian was a legend.
yeah.
Purdy Curdy, a local legend. Who
Damn, I can't
else?
even think. I can't even think. Oh,
I
Chris
think
Adonis now. Chris Masters, aka Chris Adonis.
Well, Chris Masters, but we'll go. That's
Yeah.
That's good. I didn't think
Yeah.
about that. Chris Adonis. What else? That's a good question.
I can't
See,
think
again,
offhand.
this would be so easy. Well, what a way to
We'll
end
talk. We'll wrap it up.
PWZ.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up, and then we will be back very soon. GOC, this is a lot of fun. We gotta have to be back a lot sooner than 7 months. I'll tell you that much because that's just ridiculous. I had a lot of fun sitting here talking about the world of professional wrestling and just having a blast. Everybody tune in to Chaos Corner on YouTube, which is go like the what's the name of your YouTube page again? I just
My
had it
YouTube
saved.
channel, my YouTube, again, I appreciate it. I'm humbled and blessed. My YouTube channel is Guardian of Chaos. If you just go to the YouTube and punch in the Guardian of Chaos, all my videos will come up. Of course, I'm on Twitter at Big Daddy GOC. I'm on Instagram, the Guardian of Chaos. I'm on Facebook at J Brony and Protigio Fidelis El Guardian. I'm also on Truth Social, Rumble, Gab, Gitter. I cover it, even Parlor. I cover it all in the IWC, Professor.
Don't forget to tune in tomorrow. Me and Mickey Biggs doing the NWA Spotlight. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll be talking about the history of the National Wrestling Alliance. And Thursday, me and Showtime, Marcel Williams talking about AEW Dynamite. Without any further ado, you guys have a great evening. Thank you again for tuning in.
Stay solid, everybody.